Call to order the August 19th, 2024 Henderson County Board of Education meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and for a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And again, please remain standing for a moment of silence. During this time, please feel free to offer your silent prayers or thoughts in support of the Henderson County Public Schools or engage in silent reflection. Thank you. And I'm sorry, we are about, 10 minutes late. We had some technical difficulties, but we are working those out and going ahead. So go ahead and look over the agenda, and I'll take a motion to approve. We'll make any changes at that time.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Recognitions.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we will postpone this recognition. We are honored to have the State School Resource Officer of the Year in our district, and that's Mr. Sean Metcalf. He is unable to be here this evening, though, because he is ill, so we will push that to the September meeting so that we can properly honor Deputy Metcalf.
It's great. Well, it's not great that he's not feeling well, but it's great that he gets the recognition he deserves. Program highlight, Dr. Shannon Marlowe.
Good afternoon. We have been busy the last few weeks getting ready to have our traditional scheduled schools come on board with our year-round schools. But before we did that, we made sure that our teachers were set for the year and had lots of good stuff happening. So I tried to include lots of really good pictures of some of the things that we had going on. But before we begin, I do want to give a huge shout out to our instructional services team. The amount of time and effort they put into making sure all these things get planned is absolutely amazing. And then we've used several of our schools as sites for professional development. But we, the last 2 years, have been bringing together all the Henderson County teachers to one location, technically two. So I really want to say thank you to Dr. Shepard and his team at North Henderson High School and Dr. Caitlin Davis at her school at Apple Valley Middle School. And then also, everything we do involves media and technology, so thank you so much to Grant Atkins and his team for making sure that when people press play, things actually play. That's pretty important. So we'll see if I can manage this tonight. We started out with professional development, and now we're not working. Maybe to wake up. There we go. All right. So we actually start out the week before the school year begins, and we bring in all of our brand new beginning teachers, so their first year teaching, and if they are teachers who are brand new to Henderson County, they come in that week beginning July 30th. They have a welcome breakfast at the Chamber of Commerce this year. You're talking about approximately 91 teachers who came in to join the Henderson County Public Schools family. They do onboarding that afternoon. The middle day of that week, our beginning teachers, and actually some of our teachers who are already employed with us who just decide that they want a booster on classroom management, they come in and they have Amy Dean, the behavior queen, come in every year. And then we also have a day where they work on lesson planning, so there's a lot going on. And before I do that, I want to go back. You know, we're starting a brand new school year with a brand new strategic plan. And so we wanted to look at how those things tie in. And if I was going to connect those things that we do, those are our plan priorities, number 1 and number 2, which is number 1 is all about our student outcomes. This is one of the ways that we get that. We make sure we have prepared teachers. And number 2 has to do with retaining and recruiting staff. So that's a big plus for us, making sure we've got the right people in the right places. All right. There we go. So if you are a teacher in North Carolina, you get to do some trainings just because you are a teacher in North Carolina. So that list right there are all the things that North Carolina teachers are required to do before the school year starts. It's approximately, depending on what you did last year, how many hours you did last year, and then how many you need to do this year, it's approximately 6 to 12 hours of training. That is not included in our professional development days. Those are things that teachers do because they have to do them every year. And one of the pieces that's in there, you're going to see some of those connected to policies tonight that Mr. Taylor is going to discuss in just a little bit. And I just want to say some of those things are pretty heavy mentally. So it's not just one of those things that you can press play and just roll through. Teachers really have to kind of think through, like, what are they learning? What are they thinking about? So we start this and push this out to teachers as soon as they walk in the door. Technically, we give it to them before. And again, that's priorities 1 and 2. This thing does not like me this evening. So August 6th was our first big district professional development day. That was more of our content-specific day, so teachers were involved in things that were very specific to the areas in which they work. So in K-5, we've got our new CKLA reading program. Also in 5th grade, we have switched to a new science program for 5th grade, so they did discovery education training. They were very excited about that. 6th, 8 is going to be doing reading this year in iReady in addition to math. Media coordinators working on our Destiny software updates. We also had beginning of year meetings for lots of our different groups, and I want to give special shout outs to teachers that we have who took on leadership positions to do some things like leading K-12 PE teachers, updating arts education teachers, all the arts ed positions on the new arts education standards, which will be in their installation year this year, and then 612 teachers who were introducing the new curriculum calendars that they've worked on last spring and during the summer. So that puts pretty much all of our classes 612 with curriculum calendars now, in addition to elementary. That right there is 900 teachers, around 900 teachers around the district, going to different places throughout the county, doing different professional development. On August 7th, we brought them all to the same place, with the exception of a couple of groups. There we go. We wanted to build in choice. Every year on our teacher working conditions survey, our teachers ask for choice, something that really speaks to them. So on August 7th, all those teachers came to North Henderson High School in Apple Valley and got to choose sessions from the ones you see there. Now, there were some required sessions, and I will just say, if you're a kindergarten teacher, you got lots of required sessions. But that's just the way it rolls when you're introducing new students to their their elementary career leading up into high school. So these right here are choice sessions, and they were about lots of different things. The ones you'll see there on the left that have pictures included with them, there's Mr. Garrett. He's talking about our new strategic plan. I know his first session in particular had about 100 people in it. Listening to him talk about what our plan looks like and where we're going to go with that plan over the next several years. Mr. Rhodes also did a session on artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence, and talked about how it can be a time saver if you use it wisely. We also invited students from our Teaching as a Profession class who did a student panel. So they had questions that they ran through, and teachers got to ask them questions. They talked about their perspective on teaching from a student point of view and things that teachers have done that worked really well for them as they were learning, but now starting to look at it from a teaching side. You'll also see we have some teachers there who are working on the new science standards, and then we've also had some opportunities to bring in teacher leaders for this day as well. So that bottom picture is Mr. Josh Duncan, who had gone to a training about bringing music into all classrooms. He is a music teacher, but his sessions were packed, and some of the feedback we got about his sessions for implementing music into the general ed classroom is absolutely amazing. We did sessions on national boards, what teachers would need to know if they were wanting to start that or if they were even renewing. We went through some of the required things that they had choices about attending, but also just to advance their own learning. So you'll see there were lots and lots of opportunities for teachers to choose from their own professional development that day. And then while teachers were transitioning from session to session, we invited community partners. We've been doing this the last several years with our readiness rallies for kindergarten, but this year we invited them to set up tables in the commons areas at Apple Valley and at North Henderson. So as teachers were moving from building to building, going to different sessions, they could come by and see like what opportunities are there for themselves to understand more about what's available to them as community members, but also what opportunities are available in the community to do field trips with their kids. So all those pictures up there represent different groups that came and just hung out with us for all or part of the day and provided teachers with great information and sometimes swag about what was going on. So that directly ties to our strategic plan priority number 4, which is about engaging our community members to help our students. So that took care of 2 very busy days that we had. And okay. Then we had a first day of school. So last Monday, we welcomed back all of our traditional scheduled schools. You'll see some amazing pictures there that Kimbrell Arrowwood took for us around the district. You'll see that second picture on the top there from the left, a member of our Mountain Home Fire Department opening car doors there, welcoming the kids in. Same thing, the bus drivers being willing to come, principals sitting in the floor with the kids. You gotta love that. And then there is another one. Welcoming those brand new kindergartners. Folks driving the bus, you'll notice that it is dark when he is up there starting that bus ready to go. And just making sure that our kids are well fed during the day. So 2 very busy days for bringing in kindergartners those 2 days. And then last Wednesday, everybody was there. So we were very excited to have those first few days of school behind us. For some kids, their first day of school is their second day for us, but they really, really enjoyed it. All right, we're having,
I have a comment real quick. Can you,
Yeah.
you know how to back?
well, if it'll wake, oh, it
You know,
goes
when you
back
br-
faster. Yeah,
When you brought up about the bus driver in the dark, this is again during summer. So again, you know what they go through in the winter when they have to do that, and it's even darker, longer.
And colder.
And colder. So hats off to those fellas and ladies, of course.
amazing.
Yeah.
That
So
is
I just
true.
wanted to say that.
That is true. So this slide right here are just some of the pictures from the Chamber of Commerce breakfast that we had for the beginning teachers and new teachers. All those folks get a brand new Henderson County Public Schools teacher T-shirt. They walk out with one of those. And I just want to say it's really fun when you've got dual opportunities for your kids. Up in the left-hand corner there, that's Dr. Chad Marlowe who works at, Dr. Chad Merrill who works at Blue Ridge Community College, and his daughter is one of our first-year teachers this year. So we're really excited about bringing great people home and making sure that we've got a good place where everybody wants to work. Questions?
So I have one. What is Discovery Education?
It's a science program. We were using STEM scopes, and it has taken the place of that. We only use it in 5th grade. That's where our science is tested. And it is, we've had lots of schools that have been using it. It's all online. So it's got lots of videos and things like that that go along with the content that they're teaching. Yep. It is. Yep. Other questions? All right.
Thank you, Dr. Marlowe. And one thing I did want to bring up, our normal meeting is a week late, just because of the first day of school was last Monday, and we thought it was more beneficial to have our administration and superintendent visiting our schools first couple of days, make sure everything was going well, so we did postpone the meeting a week.
Mr. Chairman, we really appreciate that. I was able to get to 10 or 11 schools on day one and all 23 in the first 3 days. So we kept everybody hopping. Everybody was somewhere checking on schools within the first couple of hours. And it always amazes me, after about 45 minutes, everybody's right back in the groove. So we've had an outstanding start.
Well, I read your weekly update, and it told you what you did Monday, and it said visited, all the way down. So I know y'all were busy, so we appreciate.
That's the good stuff.
Going to board members' observations. Any?
Well,
Got it.
I'm just glad to be back, and my grandchildren obviously had a wonderful start. They're excited. I think most of the children were ready to be back in school. So I expect a great year. I really do. Expect a great year.
One thing I wanted to mention, also, we discussed this earlier, but also, we had only 3 vacancies. So could you tell me just a little bit more about that? That's just amazing for a
So
county.
we have an organization that always does a survey across the districts across North Carolina to see what the vacancy ratings are when school begins. When we reported ours, we had 3 vacancies in our teaching positions. 2 of those have been filled, and 1 of them is in the process of being addressed right now. So very fortunate to have had the folks get out hard. Our HR folks have worked very hard to get those jobs posted. Our principals and their staff have worked really hard to bring those folks in an interview and get the people that are going to be good fits for our kids. So very proud of that.
Yeah, that was 23 schools, around 13,000.
Right, 12,500 kids, 23 schools, 900 teachers.
It's amazing.
So 3 positions out of 900.
Great. Public comment? Oh, I'm sorry.
Nothing important. I just want to just say, and we all know this because we've seen schools start for many years, but there's a lot of behind-the-scenes things that go on to get schools ready, and I just want to say publicly a thank you to the staff, teachers, administrators, everybody behind the scenes to make this first week a smooth week. It's a team effort, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I'll just echo, I think it's exciting to start another school year, and I think everybody seems to be really excited and positive, and thankfully this morning traffic was a lot better. Now that we're in the first week is always the worst, so we can all be thanking the Lord for that, but no, all jokes aside, I'm really excited for this school year. I think, we just have so many great things happening, so.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Dr. Revis, didn't mean to cut you off. Thank you, Mr. Craven, for pointing that out. I was stepping on somebody, appreciate it. On to public comments. Mr. Paul Weichselbaum, forgive me in the pronunciation, but you've spoken before. I hope I got it close. Thank you. Well, welcome. How are you, sir?
Fine, how are you?
Great, thank you.
Okay. Hello. Just want to let you know that Public Schools Strong of Henderson County will have a table at Applefest on Main Street in Hendersonville from Friday, August 30th through Sunday, September 1st. Our table will be staffed from 9:30 a.m. through 8 p.m. each day. We cordially will welcome participation of all the school board members to join us at our table to advocate for robust, well-funded, responsive, and effective public schools in Henderson County and throughout North Carolina. Also, we welcome the participation of everyone else who's here today to join us at our table to advocate for those things. If you wish to confirm your plan to attend, if you select a time you would come, please contact Judy Bonner at Judy Bonner, JUDYBONNER, 1, at outlook.com. Of course, feel free to stop by whenever you're spending time downtown during Applefest. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you and conversing with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chris Walters. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Very good, thank you.
Very good.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back for a new school year. I'm Chris Walters, retired English language arts teacher from Flower Rock Middle School. I grew up in Henderson County during the Jim Crow era, and partly because of that, I've always been interested in race. In the 10 years that I've been retired, I've read and studied quite a bit, and I'm often shocked and disheartened by what I learn. Nevertheless, I read on because I think it's important for white people to learn about race, because it was our own ancestors who created the racial classifications in the color line that provided the moral justification for the enslavement of Africans allowed lynching, permitted organized violence against black people, and allowed for the basic denial of human rights for so long. Therefore, when we talk about race, it's also a legacy of our own white European American history that we're talking about. But my sense of learning about race is not to approach it with guilt and shame, but rather with a sense of responsibility, or maybe just curiosity, whatever interest can move us forward. Having said that, I'd like to share parts of this article from the Mississippi Encyclopedia about the origin of the term sold down the river. The central thoroughfare of America's domestic slave trade, the Mississippi River, brought slave traders and their cargo southward from the Ohio River to the ports along the riverbanks in the Mississippi. Stops in Vicksburg, Natchez, and other major cities offered antebellum traders markets at which Southern plantation owners gathered to negotiate the purchase of black men, women, and children. These purchases met the South's increasing demand for field and house labor, but stories of back-breaking toil, high rates of malaria, and intolerable heat and humidity quickly established the Deep South as particularly loathsome fates. Thus, to be sold down the river was to commence a life of crushing circumstances. Between 1830 and 1860, Virginia sold approximately 300,000 slaves further south to Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Bringing slaves further south was the key to this region's strong agrarian labor. More slaves meant bigger farms, more crops, and increased revenue. Once aboard riverboats, slaves found themselves pinned below deck, shackled around their ankles or wrists, and roped together at the waist. Also adding to the distress of Southern transfer of slaves away from freedom, increasing Northern resistance to the institution of slavery made escape seem viable. But Southern plantations were surrounded by impenetrable forests and deadly swamps, meaning that escape would require a much longer, more perilous journey than simply crossing a border into a free state. The river's terminating point, New Orleans, was home to the largest slave market in the South and represented a type of dead end for slaves imagining escape. Perhaps the most salient feature of relocation was the destruction of slave families. If you're interested in following up on these ideas, you can go down to the People's Museum by Black Bear Cafe, the coffee shop on Main Street, and see a video that shows the enslaved population moving from Virginia to the states of the Deep South as the population of enslaved people increased over time. Our own Crystal Colley, who unfortunately died recently at the age of 44, did much to create and inspire the history contained in the museum. What could be a better tribute to Crystal's work than to visit the museum and learn important history? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am?
Hi, I'm sorry, I thought we were starting at 4:30 forward. And so I didn't sign up. Is that okay?
That's okay, come on up.
Oh, bless your heart.
We'd love to hear it.
Well, I love to be back. I am so happy to see each and every one of you. You guys are awesome because you all want the same thing. You want what's best for our kids. And we do too. But we go about it kind of in some abstract ways because we think we're going against each other when it's not that at all. We want the very same thing, but I think most of you want the heart of God to speak into us, to tell us, because he knows what's right. And there's no your truth, my truth, there's the truth. And you may say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. That's okay, you're welcome to. We still love you. Doesn't mean I wouldn't do anything for you if you needed some help, if it was in my power. But it also means that I have to listen, I want to listen, because we can learn from each other even when we disagree. Sometimes, especially when we disagree. And if we can disagree agreeably, I think God's heart would be jumping with joy because we're not made the same, thank God. And we are different, and we do different things for different reasons. And my heart is to teach the children, I was a teacher, by the way, to teach the children how to think, but not what to think. What I want to see is a child who is free to express himself, whether I agree with it or not. I still think they need to express themselves and let it out, and sometimes that communication really is helpful, because then we realize where the child is coming from, and we get the connection. And it's so important to us to teach them how to think for themselves, so that when bad things come up, they will look for the truth, and the truth will set them free. And we don't have to say it's yours or it's mine, because really it's his. And that's what's really important about the whole thing. And I really am excited about what's going to happen this year. I'm excited about the kids. I'm excited to have you back in one piece, praise God. And I'm excited that all of you are back. I don't know how to tell you how much I've prayed for you even when I'm not here, because I care about you. There's not one person here that anywhere here, oh, there's not too many here, but whomever, any of you, I know that I can love you because he does. And because of his love, I wanted to express out to you, because you're important. And you're the life's blood of our school system. And I thank you and praise you for who you are.
For the record, ma'am, tell me your name again?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you that before. I'm sorry.
Joyce Marsteller, Marsteller. And thank you so much. God
And you
bless
looked around and you said, well, there are not many here. Well, they're all listening, so that's okay. They're all online listening.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I needed that. I'm glad that doesn't add any pressure.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
You're very welcome.
Thank you, okay. Take a look over the consent agenda, and I'll take a motion when prepared.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. For old business, we have the Berkeley Mills property. Mr. Campbell, would you would you be willing to say something?
Sure,
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, be happy
Are
to
you
say
prepared to say something? How about that?
I sure am. So, Board, just a quick update as you look at the possible uses with Berkeley and potentially an agreement with the county. The process is the same, basically, that you went through in acquiring the property to begin with, that the two board staffs and the county manager superintendent will work together on an agreement. It would be an interlocal agreement for the transfer of property, which is provided for in the statute. So all of the terms, conditions between the two boards would be in that agreement. So there will be nothing that is final and official until it comes to this board in open public session, and you have a chance to look it over and talk about it. So that's the status of Berkeley right now, is the staffs will be working on potentially an interlocal agreement for you to consider, just waiting on the county's next official action with regards to whether or not they want to utilize that property. So things are moving forward.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a question, more a statement. In our resolution or the direction that we directed the superintendent to send a letter to the county, our first bullet point was to have satisfactory drawings per WGLA drawings that they had done. And in the conversations that the county commissioners had that I was watching online, they had talked about that specific bullet point. And I think it would behoove us to kind of back off the WGLA plan, because I know they've talked to another architect. And as long as that architect draws the plans that really approve the point 2 and bullet 3, which are the softball fields and the tennis courts, then we shouldn't really be worried if it's WGLA or another architect or anybody else for that matter.
That's a good point.
And the letter itself is not a binding legal agreement.
Sure.
So I think that's an excellent point, but just if no board member voices any objection, Mr. Chairman, I think you can take that as a consensus that the board is open to a finalized site plan as part of the agreement. And it would be an attachment to the agreement. Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that out. I know they have a special called meeting tomorrow. I know that was one of their questions that they were asking in their meeting, and I just wanted to say, as long as it, the softball and tennis courts are there, along with the baseball field, to satisfy Hendersonville High School and their athletic needs, good by me.
Anything else?
One update I can provide too for the board and the public is they have communicated with us that they want to work with us as well as that is developed. They've asked Mr. Taylor to be part of those discussions once they start getting down to those details. So that's certainly something we can pass along. I've shared in principle that the where of everything is really not a major concern to the board. It's just having those components.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
I know that they called a special meeting tomorrow to be right after ours. So is there anything that we need to do today to discuss? I mean,
I think what I heard, I don't know if there's anything official that's come across the wire, if we've received any emails, but when I was listening to it was that, like, do we have to stick to that plan? Do we not? That was the only kind of question that I heard about Berkeley specifically, as opposed to, they were picking Berkeley or Jackson Park. They picked Berkeley. But they may or may not want to use that specific site plan that we had seen in the past.
well, it's a
It was a preliminary,
from a
but
long
on
time
our thing, it said WGLA. I just think, eliminate that, as long as we get what we need for our students, good to go. And I think as long as if we can portray that, or send them an email to that effect, or you can talk to the county manager, I think that's the answers, unless we know of
No, I
anything
just was
else.
making sure that there was nothing that we.
Are they waiting for us
Yeah,
to
that-
give them anything back?
It almost seemed as if they were meeting tomorrow after we met. So I just was making sure there was nothing we needed
I'd say
else
go
to discuss or,
Full steam ahead.
right, I mean, okay.
But that's certainly not an issue for us.
I don't believe so. I think if we needed to strike that or whatever, just if they are listening, that particular part of it is not contingent.
So, Mr. Chairman, nothing would be wrong with accepting a motion to modify the letter of intent, just to say that the board is open to any site plan that meets the useful elements, that has the elements as the original site plan.
Okay, so I'll take a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Any more further discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion passes.
So I will
So
adjust the letter and send it out this evening.
Yep.
Well, that was easy.
yeah.
And I think Mr. Campbell has another engagement he needs to get to.
I do, but you have been so efficient that I will ask, does any board, I have another school board meeting to go to. Does any board member have any concerns about any of the policies that they'd want me to stick around? Or if not, I will, as we lawyers say, get off your clock and get on to someone else's.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Okay, now on to new business. This is policies for adoption, first reading. Mr. Carl Taylor, sir.
Good evening, board members. Hope you're having a great day today. For policies this evening, we're going to start with two policies that are for first reading, as they would be new to our policy manual. The first one is Policy 4140, Foreign Exchange Students. This policy addresses the admission of foreign exchange students with J-1 visa status and is intended to support 4120-R, foreign exchange students. 4120-R is a regulation that when we transition our old policies to the new policy manual with our school board association, we transition that older policy to a regulation. This new policy that's coming from the school board association really works well with that regulation, so they would, this new policy again would be there to support it. So any questions with this policy? All right. And then the next policy for first reading tonight is Policy 5023/6128/7268, Emergency Administration of Naloxone. This policy addresses the emergency use of naloxone on school property. Any questions with this policy?
I do have a question or two. So in the policy, and I'm trying to pull it up, my computer's not playing fair. Can you scroll? Thank you. Administration, I think it's on the administration. It said something about we're going to have to only train employees are authorized to administer naloxone to persons suspected to be experiencing opioid. How are we going to go about that?
The training,
Yeah, the training and a list of trained employees to be maintained in the schools. Like, that seems like, that's the meat of this.
yes, sir. So we'd work with our school nursing staff and the health department to identify the best way to train people within our buildings who are interested in receiving that training, so that we do have school staff members. Currently, our school resource officers have access to naloxone or Narcan, as do our school nurses. So they're the only two people in our buildings when they're there that have access. This policy would put in place the procedures for us to then extend it to other individuals within our building.
Because both those people fall outside of this policy.
Correct.
And then, so those folks are going to be training the principal, assistant principal, coach? I mean, how does that get divvied up? How do we pick who's going to get trained to deliver it?
Within our schools, we also have individuals who are trained for things like first aid, and that they're there to help respond to emergencies when nurses aren't available. So it'd be very similar to that. We would work with our principals to identify a couple of other individuals who would then be on that same type of list to receive that training to help administer that if an event arose that needed it. You know, we have staff members that are trained for diabetes training, for EpiPen training.
AEDs
And so
and all that.
it would all kind of fall underneath that umbrella.
Okay.
My question might, Alyssa probably can answer this better. Is there any possible danger in administering naloxone if it wasn't an opioid overdose? Because you have a very limited amount of time. I know that.
No, there would, no,
So there's,
no.
okay.
You might get out of the way because they will vomit, but
Been worse.
Any other
And
questions?
then school system supplied. Are we purchasing that? Is that through a grant?
So there are resources both locally and throughout the state that we could explore to provide that. And then if not, what we've looked at is well, you can purchase our 2-packs that are around $45 each. So at a $1,000 investment, that's what it would cost to supply all of our schools with 2 doses.
My experience in the past is your local EMS will supply that for you.
but the SROs and the nurses already have some on hand. So
They
this
do.
would be in addition.
This would be in addition.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on to spring policy updates. Here we have 13 policy updates. If it's okay with everybody, and if there's a problem down the road, we can always single this one out. But if we could just approve all these at one after you finish reading them all, that would be fine with me. So go ahead and start.
Well, we have to approve 1 and 2
Yeah.
because they're new.
That's first reading. So if you
I
would,
thought first reading you didn't.
Yeah.
I thought second reading is when.
We adopt.
this board is typically voted to approve, except in first reading, yes.
Okay, fine. Then we'll take a motion.
I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education adopt for first reading policy 4140 and policies 5023, 6128, and 7268.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The policies pass. Motion passes. So do I need to repeat myself for the spring policy updates?
You have to repeat yourself, but that would,
I'm going to repeat, repeat myself. What I would like to do is, rather than voting after every one of these, go through 1 through 13. If we have to single one out to vote on it separately, that's obviously fine. But if not, then we'll just go through and take a motion to accept all these policies in one vote. Does that make sense?
Are these for first reading or second reading?
these are adopted, so
adopted.
they're already,
Existing policies that are being updated.
Updated. Any questions?
Well, I do have a question on policy 13.
Your mic.
Oh, no, we will go through each policy. but as far as voting to approve, we'll just do one. Go ahead and start with policy 1310-4002.
Yes, so this policy update for 1310/4002, parental involvement, adds language from State Board of Education Policy PRNT 002 in subsection C2E. And subsection C3 adds a reference to the notifications required by law when a school and/or school system is identified as low performing. Clarifies language in subsection C4D. Clarifies language in subsection D11. In section H, references the reporting requirements of State Board of Education Policy PRNT 002, updates the legal references, and updates the footnotes. Any questions here on policy 1310-4002? Yes, ma'am.
So I know we have Blue Ridge Healthcare in our school systems, and I noticed this always referred to, with the parental rights, this always referred to the school system. Where does Blue Ridge Health fall under that? And how many schools actually have Blue Ridge Health in them?
Let's see.
3, right?
We have Bruce Drysdale, Apple Valley, North Henderson, Hillendale, Sugarloaf. So 5?
Okay, so my question is, where did they fall under this parental bill of rights as far as, well, first the Narcan, I mean, would they be, would have access to Narcan as well? Do we know?
I don't know if they carry that within their health clinics that are in our buildings. In terms of parental rights, for students to be seen by Blue Ridge Health, they sign an agreement with
Okay.
Blue Ridge Health. So
Okay.
now they may do, like, if a student comes up and needs a Band-Aid, that's something they'll help with, the basic first aid. But when it comes to being evaluated for some type of illness or something else of that nature to be evaluated, that requires parental permission.
Thank you, that was the crutch of my question.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
All right. Next policy is 1760-7280, prohibition against retaliation. This policy update clarifies language. Any questions here on this policy?
Well, I just found it interesting that they changed the word wrongdoing to unlawful, so I thought, well, what's the difference between unlawful and wrongdoing? Unlawful is actually stronger, but wrongdoing, which is in the previous paragraph of the old policy, is much broader. So I think that's a great update. I just wanted to make that
Okay.
observation.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? Go ahead.
Next one, policy 3220, technology in the educational program. This policy update adds a new section E to address the use of generative artificial intelligence, AI. Adds information about training on the use of generative AI in section F. Updates the other resources and adds a footnote. Any questions on this policy?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
All right. Next one, policy 3225, 4312, 7320, technology responsible use. This policy update in section G references generative AI guidelines as described in policy 3220, adds other resources, updates the footnotes. Any questions on this policy?
Thank you, sir. Next policy.
Next policy is 3420, student promotion and accountability. This policy update creates a new section J to address students receiving high school credit for courses taken while studying abroad. Adds a reference to 3-year high school graduation in section K. Updates the legal references, adds footnotes. Any questions on this policy?
Thank you, sir. Next policy.
All right, next one, 3460, graduation requirements. This policy update deletes custom language in introductory paragraph, adds new student notice requirements in the paragraph preceding section A, reorganizes information from the paragraph preceding section A into other parts of the policy, adds a reference in section A to policy 3420 in regard to receiving credit for courses taken abroad, changes the local graduation requirements to local graduation recommendations, deletes Section A7, adds information in C4 regarding graduating high school in 3 years, updates the diploma endorsements language, deletes Section C7, includes various other minor changes, updates the legal references, and updates the footnotes. Any questions on this policy?
Thank you, sir. Next policy.
Next one, Policy 3620, Extracurricular Activities and Student Organizations. This policy update removes the local attendance standard for interscholastic athletics participation in light of the forthcoming State Board of Education attendance standard, removes language referencing North Carolina High School Athletic Association eligibility rules, and adds a reference to applicable eligibility standards of law in B1A, removes C3, and adds a new subsection B1D to address the participation of homeschool students in interscholastic athletics, includes other minor editorial changes, updates the legal references, and updates the footnotes. Any questions on this policy?
Got a question. It's not really the policy, but it's a question about homeschool students participating in athletics. So I know you have to go halftime, 2 classes, one of which has to be in the building. How many students do we have taking advantage of that? Approximately.
It's called dual enrollment, correct?
Band? Drama? Okay. Thanks.
Next policy, sir. Thank you.
Next policy, 4040-7310, Staff-Student Relations. This policy update revises language in subsection C4 to reference Policy 7130, which now contains the reporting requirements from new 16 NCAC 6C0608. Yeah, updates the legal references, updates the cross-references, and updates a footnote. Any questions on this policy? I practiced all weekend. All right, next policy, 4240-7312, Child Abuse and Related Threats to Child Safety. This policy update revises language in Section D to reference Policy 7130, which now contains the reporting requirements from new 16 NCAC 6C0608. In Section H, adds a new statutory requirement that applies beginning with the 2024-2025 school year, updates the legal references, updates the cross-references, and updates a footnote. Any questions on this policy?
If I remember correctly, there was a policy that covered unlicensed as well. Is that correct? Because we've got licensed here, I mean, that's specifically stated. Isn't there a policy that covers that as well?
So we're a mandatory report. What this is talking about is if you have a license, and we would report that to the DPI to then pull your license.
Okay.
So that they would no longer be licensed in the state of North Carolina. That's what this
So there's a
changes.
different policy specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our support staff do not necessarily have a license for that position in the state. So if you're for example, a teacher or a principal.
But it's also redundant because every adult in North Carolina is a mandatory reporter if you know of sexual abuse or any type of abuse that's going on.
Any other questions or comments? Next policy. Thank you, sir.
Policy 4270-6145, Concussion and Head Injury. This policy update updates statutory references throughout the policy, includes other minor changes, updates the legal references and other resources, updates the footnotes. Any questions on this policy?
Thank you, sir. Next policy.
Policy 7130, Licensure. This policy update adds a new Section F regarding mandatory reporting of misconduct, updates the legal references, adds a footnote. Any questions on this policy?
Thank you, sir. Next policy.
Next policy, 8340, Insurance. This policy update amends the language to include not just insurance, but also other types of liability coverage. Any questions on this policy?
Thank you, sir. Next one.
All right. Policy 8510, School Finance Officer. This policy updates the duties of the school finance officer based on the information in State Board of Education Policy FINO 000. Adds a new Section C about continuing professional education. Updates the legal references and the cross-references. Updates the footnotes. Any questions on this policy?
I don't have questions on this policy, but it brought up another thing. As far as I know, the CFO is the only position in our school system that if they were improperly fired, would not have any recourse to meet before this board. Is that still correct? The CFO is at the discretion of the superintendent. Is there any movement on, like, is that ever going to change? Or I know there was talk about it.
So for years, you didn't hear anything about it, but the last couple of years, they have talked about that. And I know that the organization that oversees those, NCASBO, has been advocating for some of that as well, because as far as administration, the CFO is also the only one that doesn't have a contract.
Right. It just seems, it's really interesting.
Well, it can be kind of backwards, and you can look up situations to where there would be reasons that you would need board oversight on that.
Absolutely. Oh. School Board Association survey.
Yeah, so the North Carolina School Board Association sent out a survey, and that is a question on the survey. And I hope you guys have, okay, good. Yeah, so it is a topic to hopefully be brought up before the state legislature, that he would have a recourse.
No question about the policy, but I was thinking about you, Bernie.
Hey, me and Bernie are getting along great.
Let's hope it
But
stays that way
tomorrow-
until.
Tomorrow.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve policies 1 through 13 for adoption for the spring policy updates 2024.
Second? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to superintendent's reports.
Capital update.
Wait, no, wait a minute. It says,
Capital update.
wait, superintendent's reports, and then underneath that, it says capital update. Let me get there, okay? If it's not important to read, then don't put it down here. So superintendent's reports, right now, capital update, Mr. Carl Taylor. I'm getting there.
It said board/superintendent.
Okay, board/superintendent's reports, Mr. Carl Taylor with a capital update.
Thank
How about that?
Awesome. For capital update to get us started with this new school year, just 3 of our projects that carried over from the last time we met in June. The first one, the HVLS fans, which are high volume, low speed fans that we've installed in elementary schools. So all of those are complete. So all of our elementary schools do have one of those nice large fans hanging up in them. We've gotten lots of positive comments and feedback from teachers, from students, just in how that is making the spaces comfortable, especially as we think about Bruce Drysdale and Hendersonville Elementary School, how they have been in session since early July. To have that really has made a difference for those schools. Next one, and I've got some pictures that'll follow here in just a second, is the flooring replacement at Flat Rock. These pictures that you see here are ones that I showed you back in May when we discussed the possibility of doing this project. Unfortunately, you as a board approved us to proceed. So this is before, and those are, I don't know if pictures really painted the picture of what those floors.
So good compared to what it actually used to look like in person.
And so new paint there, yes. So now here is what those hallways look like once we installed carpet. So after a lot of research, we visited a couple of schools in York, South Carolina, that have this type of product in hallways, because we just wanted to see it. This is new for us in Henderson County to have carpet in hallways in in our schools. So Chad Dillon, Jimmy Owens from maintenance, and myself, we drove down to York, South Carolina, visited a high school, visited an elementary school to really do the research on, is this a product we're interested in bringing to our district? The one in the high school had been down, I believe, for around 15 years, and so the condition of that was still very good. And so that was really a big selling point for us to go ahead and pursue it.
Question, are our guys able to, let's say one of those 3x3s gets messed up and we need to replace it, can they replace it or do we have to hire an installer?
We can replace it. So we have attic stock at maintenance to where if Flat Rock called them this evening saying, hey, we need one replaced, we could get that done very quickly. So as you walk into the building now, you can see the eagle greeting students each and every day as they walk into the building. And then those are just a couple of the side hallways there that show the carpet and what that looks like. And then to Ms. Dell's point, really pops with the recently painted lockers, the walls as well. So those hallways look brand new at this point in time. So next slide. Turned out really well, really happy with it. Here's a couple of classrooms with the budget that we had. The hallways came in under budget enough for us to be able to address 6 classrooms in the first hallway as you walk into that building to the left. The condition of the carpet in those classrooms was not something we could be proud of by any means.
You touched that music room?
No, we did not get to that, the music room there in the back hallway. There are other spaces there that, like some other ones in our county, that have carpet that need, the time is coming for us to replace that as well. And again, that is a budget item that this board has put into the capital budget each year, is to replace flooring. And so we'll address as many as we can again this year, and then just kind of keep moving through that list. But again, it makes a world of difference in those classroom spaces as well.
You know, my wife attended Flat Rock, and I won't mention how long ago to protect the innocent, but she was... That's right. Protect my marriage. But she was just like, man, that looks great. So that's a good job.
And real big shout out to the Flat Rock staff and their custodians. Unfortunately, timing-wise and the way everything worked out, the carpet was installed during the week of work days. And that is a very stressful time for schools. But they were extremely accommodating, flexible during that time, and so just really appreciate them and just their patience with us throughout this project. Also, a big shout out to our maintenance department. They jumped in and helped out in making sure that that campus was ready come Monday morning for students of last week, and so it really truly was a team effort from the school level and our maintenance department, and wouldn't have got done without them all working together to make this happen.
Carl, if you go back one to make note, when you see the darker carpet and then the lighter carpet, that's designed around the doorways and coming out the bathrooms and places that's high traffic. It's a rougher carpet. It's called walk-off carpet. So it's what takes the dirt, the water, and all that so that it doesn't get dispersed throughout the building to make that last longer.
Are there Flex-A-Green or my contacts dry?
No, those are Flex-A-Green.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice touch.
It's a very nice touch, yes. Yep. All right, next. Some updates on our MRTS projects. At Atkinson, again, we are in phase 1 of the HVAC replacement. So really, most of the work inside of the classrooms is finished in terms of duct work and getting all the infrastructure in. The rooftop units will be coming in the next couple of weeks, so we'll get ready to set those. And then the next piece, once everything's connected, will be a little bit of demo work of demoing out the old units that were old wall units. So that'll be the next part of phase 1. So once that work gets started, I'll be sure to share some pictures. Of course, with Upward, we had the ribbon cutting almost a couple of weeks ago now, in terms of being able to say that project is finally complete. And again, I've got some pictures in a moment. And then West Henderson, that work continues there with their new front office and building connection. And again, we'll finish with pictures for that site as well.
When is that projected to be done, West?
The West High project. Soon after the new year, I believe the contract gives Carolina Specialties till sometime in February to finish that project. So that is the contract date. We'll see if the weather cooperates and everything else to where they can get done sooner, but I believe February is the contract date. For Upward, a couple of pictures of the exterior. If you haven't been by there, that front side with the paving now complete just makes a world of difference there on the front. An awesome change there for the school. New awning out there as well, and then the red awning that you can kind of see in the distance was repainted, which again just makes that a brand new entrance for the students and staff there. The other exterior picture to the side is the back side of that new cafeteria expansion, and the school there really made a comment about how the concrete work out back where it used to be a dugout amphitheater, which really didn't serve the school any purpose, but now that can serve as patio space to maybe add even a little bit more to where students have some flexibility to be outside either during lunch or some other times of the day. Next slide. Here's some interior pictures. The one on the left where you see the Leader in Me school poster. That is a picture from the old cafeteria going into that new space, so it's adjacent to it. It really almost doubles the cafeteria space there for Upward Elementary, which just provides a lot of flexibility for them now when it comes to serving lunch. And then the other picture is from inside that new space, and again, just a great addition and a project that was very well done. Just really appreciate Vinoy and the work they did to make it such a great space for our students.
I want to say something real quick. Go ahead, Blair. I think.
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to the staff at Upward. That is the cleanest, nicest elementary school. The custodians there take such pride and care in their work, and the child nutrition staff, and they do. That school looks great. Looks amazing.
Yes, and it looks that way. It doesn't matter what day of the school year you walk into Upward Elementary. What you just said is very true. They take a lot of pride in that building.
And it looked that way during construction.
I know. Yes, it's crazy.
And Blair and I were there, and it's just, you look at that school, and it's spotless. I mean, they do a great job there. And then I was just going to also mention, with that small cafeteria, they were serving lunch from, I believe, from 10:30 to 1:30. And this is an elementary school. If you can imagine kids waiting till 1:30 for lunch. So this was desperately needed. I'm glad it was taken care of and it was done right.
Yes, indeed. All right, the next photos are for West Henderson. So the first ones are pictures from the out front area, which we call Area A. So that is going to be the new entrance into the front office for West Henderson. So you can see it really coming together. And so what it looks like in these photos, and then probably as we move into September and October, it's just going to be a world of difference. So really excited to see that part of the project coming together. The next photos move inside of Area A and show the office suite. That area was parts of it were completely redone. Like the principals and assistant principal, their spaces, the size of them stayed the same, but we put in new flooring, painted, and new ceiling tiles there so that it matches everything else. But you can see these pictures here just show how clean it looks at this point, and the new flooring as well. And this area is going to get turned back over to the administrators pretty soon, not February. And so Mr. Manuel and his admin team have been, again, very patient and flexible with us. They've had to move out of that area and be put in different spaces throughout the campus, but we hope to get them in there maybe in the next month or so. So looking forward to that. Then here are a couple of pictures from out back, which we call Area B. This is the new corridor that's going to connect the backside of the gymnasium to X building, and then that other exterior door that the picture on my right shows. This is the area that will also include the single-user restrooms that are being added into the project, and it will be a much-needed addition to that part of the campus. All right. Any questions?
I have one question on Upward. You talked about traffic, and traffic's always kind of a disaster around schools. We flipped those entrances. How's the bus route and the new car rider line, drop-off line working there?
So it works really, really well. What they've done is they've blocked off the one gate and they keep it closed all the time.
You can only come
So
from
everything
Upward.
comes into Education Drive and stacks that way all the way up. So he's got plenty of room to stack, take them all the way around. Buses are not impeded.
So nobody can come on Crest Road into
No,
there?
nobody can come in that way. So And from day one, he's talked about it. It's been a huge improvement. I think it was improvement just flipping it, and now that the parking lot is done, it's even better.
That's got to be the longest queue we have at any elementary school, and the longer the queue you have, the better
Right.
off you are.
I was there for drop-off on the first day of school, and
Just,
it was very smooth.
yeah, I bet.
And if you'll move to the first picture of West again, I'll point out in the picture on the left, up in the left side, you can see the courtyard where it is walled off, and that gap in that courtyard is where the gate will go. So they've got that piece completed, because one of the concerns there, as you know, was being able to access different parts of the building. So you're enclosing the back part to keep that from happening, and then this is what's happening on the front part. But students will still be able to get out there at lunch. They'll still be able to use that space, but no one will have access from the outside to them.
Any other questions, comments? You're thinking.
Well, I haven't been up there, so when you drive around the student parking area, what is that? Do we have anything going on there? Like in the very back, adjacent to the field?
So in that very back area, yes, they're replacing they're installing a gate there and replacing some fencing to where, again, that other side that entered into the courtyard is secure during the school day. We call that Area C, but nothing has started back there yet.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anything else?
I have a question. Seeing the Upward project reminded me, do we, and I think I've talked about this maybe with just Mr. Garrett once in passing, and is there a standard amount of time for lunches in I know that high school is, but in elementary school, is there a minimum amount of time that they get for lunch, or is that set per school? Or, because I feel like I've heard sometimes in passing that kids have a difficulty, like sometimes it's like 25 minutes. Other schools it's 30, and I feel like 5 minutes can make a big difference. And my concern is, with all of our populations we serve, this may be the only hot meal that a lot of our kids get. And one of my biggest concerns is that they don't have enough time to actually go through the line and to sit down and not only eat it, but like enjoy it. I mean, I don't know, who doesn't love eating, right? But I want to make sure that is there like a specific minimum? Is that set by, is that something that can be looked at? Can we just make sure? Because anybody that's been in elementary school, inevitably the lines just start to back up, and I just worry about the kid that's in the very last. It's and then they sit down, it's their first time to talk. They may not use their time wisely, and then all of a sudden they've had like only 15 minutes to eat and it's over, and now they're throwing it away. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I worry about that. That's something I think about.
So they're 25 to 30 minutes, depending on the school. So they're within a 5-minute variance there. Your 25 minutes are going to be your schools that have the larger populations that have to get more kids through the line, which is one of the things of making sure we can turn them through. So Upward, I'm sure, was 25. They now would have the ability to go 30 with the expanded space.
So it's more of a sitting space, not.
Sometimes it's capacity, yes, and the ability to get them through the line.
I don't know. I personally would like to see it be mandatory for 30 minutes unless there's a legitimate reason why they physically could not. I mean, that's just me. I don't know. I just worry about 30 minutes or 25 minutes goes by real quick when you got 30 kids in line, and I don't know. I just feel like losing 5 minutes of potential instructional time gonna like hurt them that bad. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else thinks about that, but it's just something just seeing that occurred to me.
And again, a lot of it's going to be on your population, because 5 minutes in a smaller school is not going to make as big a difference in turning classes over as 5 minutes at like a Glen Marlowe or a Mills River, which have the larger populations, because that 5 minutes then extends on out. That's why we leave it up to those principals, and we say 25 minimum, and they can go longer than that if they want. We can kind of do a survey and see what I don't know what all of them are on their lunch. I know that they have a standardized start time and depending on their levels, but.
Because I guess as long as the cafeteria was large enough, it would just be that they would just sit there 5 more minutes, right? Hopefully it wouldn't impede with others. Like, I don't want to mess up everybody's, whole schedule day. I just want to make sure that they have enough time when they're sitting down to eat, that's all.
I think our biggest thing would be to survey our principals and make sure that they don't have kids who are taking too long to get through the line. Even though we don't have kids that are sitting down and only have 5 or 10 minutes to eat, and we can do that. And obviously, earlier in the year is going to be harder than later on in the year. And I do know that our schools are bringing their kindergartners down earlier right now to give them some extra time and help them through. But certainly, that's something we can keep an eye on.
Any else? Comments? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Bernie Sosha. Financial statements.
Still in the board and superintendent report, Aaron?
It's a CFO joke.
You see numbers all day, you gotta do something. All right, wrap up the 23-24 school year from a financial report standpoint. We'll have our audit beginning in the middle of next month. So local current expense and other restricted funds through June 30th. The combined revenues totaled $37,204,000, and expenditures made totaled $37,258,000. That is before we have our receivables and payables posted, which just means that any of the activity that happened in July and will go through the end of this week, they will get posted back to last year if they were in fact work done in the previous year, but we're just paying for it now. We have the local current expense and other restricted funds as of July 31st. First month of this year, we got $3,635,000 in revenues, and we spent just $1,430,000. The capital outlay fund for the 23-24 school year as of June 30th, we had revenues received at $2,377,000, and expenditures for the year were at $1,898,000. Since that is very different than what we're talking about in here, a lot of that is we have our school bus leases that have a very large dollar amount that is just an accounting entry. There's no money that actually comes through here, as well as with the MRTS projects. We record those on our books, but we don't actually see any of the money. So when we talk capital, like Mr. Taylor's talking, he's talking largely, we have some of the updates from the MRTS, but a lot of that $1.5 million that we had last year. The enterprise fund, as of June 30th, the child nutrition program, they received $8,718,000 in revenue and had $9,324,000 in expenditures. And that does include $675,000 that we transferred from local funds into child nutrition for this half of the CEP program.
How much?
675 out of local.
And so that's updated. This says 450. It's the budget, and then I see 89 year-to-date activity.
You're talking on this one? On the actual report itself?
Sorry, go ahead.
The line that references that in child nutrition is the 4,900, which is the fund transfer line, where there was $738,000 total year-to-date. 675 of that was from the local fund. Childcare for the year, $1,372,000 in revenues and $3,066,000 in expenditures. That deficit was almost 1.7 million, which went to the playgrounds, which came out of fund balance from the previous year. So they're sitting at about 1.7 million remaining in that program and fund balance. We'll know for sure after the audit.
What are non-program charges? 8,100 on the expenditures on the child nutrition,
Indirect costs.
such as?
That is just the amount that gets, it's a percentage that's derived through DPI based on their operations to help cover the overhead costs. That they give us a percentage that applies to the operations that can go to certain budget codes that they operate under that would be applied to like covering for the utility spaces, things of that nature that we can collect. We collect $200,000 a year. Mathematically, they make us charge what could be charged, and then we have to credit back as a revenue what we don't charge. That's why on theirs, the amount was 374, but there's a indirect cost not charged that it would be $174,000.
Government math is just, government math is crazy.
There's a lot of money in here that's really no money.
All right, so at the end of the day, child nutrition is gonna run a loss of $600,000. How much do they have left in fund balance?
They've got a little over 2 million.
A little over $2 million. It cost us $675,000 to pay for the CE program to feed all the kids for lunch last year.
Last year, yes, sir.
We had anticipated that was gonna cost.
Well, that was our portion. We
all right,
were
our portion,
thinking
we anticipated that our portion was,
it was gonna be closer to 500.
we spent $175 more on that. And then on childcare, we lost 1.6 million, but really, that's really because of the federal grants that came in for the playground equipment, and it's just an accounting mix. So what is their fund balance?
Theirs is, I'm thinking it's gonna come around about 1.7 at the end of the year.
Okay. Oh, government math.
Nothing like they taught you in school.
It's not. It's not. I probably would have never gotten to finance if they taught this in college.
All right, thank you much.
Thank you, sir.
Well, everybody in finance that comes to the school side has to learn this.
Right, I know. And then they're like, wait, what is this?
Yes.
And
In public practice or private practice?
next we have general operations, Mr. Mark Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My pleasure to share my part of the superintendent report.
There we go.
There we go. For August, certainly we want to celebrate the opening of the 2024-2025 school year. Our Flex Calendar schools cracked open the year on July 11th, and they are now on day 27, I believe, 27 or 28. So they are steaming toward their first break as we speak. A traditional calendar opened on August 12th. And just cannot say enough about the preparation to get ready to open the 24-25 school year from all of our support staff and everybody that makes this thing run and tick, but also to our staff for getting such a great start, both at our Flex Calendar schools in their first couple of weeks and then our traditional calendar schools now. I also want to reiterate what Dr. Marlowe shared about our IST folks and getting a great week last week, or the week previous to last week, and getting our folks ready to go for the year. September is Attendance Awareness Month, so we start off the year and then we start talking about attendance because we know attendance matters. And as we look at our results, both from an academic standpoint and from a graduation rate standpoint, attendance really adds up from the time they start school until the time that they graduate with us. We will have our first round of school tours on September 4th, where we will be going to West Henderson High School, and we'll see how much different it looks from the pictures. Atkinson Elementary, where you'll see an update on the HVAC system, and Upward Elementary, where if you've not had a chance to see it all together, you'll have a chance to see that. September 5th and 6th is our annual Class of Kindergarten T-shirt distribution. So you have an opportunity to sign up to come to one of those facilities and help us hand out T-shirts on that Thursday or Friday. So if you have not received that or you need that link again, we'll send it back out to you, and we'd love to have you join. September 9th is our next regular business meeting at 4 o'clock. And then September 15th begins our National Hispanic Heritage Month, and that is National Hispanic Heritage Month runs the last half of September and the first part of October. And again, it's a pleasure to share this, but I also want to welcome our families back to the new school year, and glad to see those buses running. We have athletics, regular season starting up last week, and we've got football starting up this week for regular season. So get out and support the Bearcats, the Falcons, the Eagles, and the Knights. Not or, and. Let's support them all. Thank you.
Now, you said, I did not see class of kindergarten distribution sign-up list. So if y'all could send that to me again?
We will.
Your email.
We'll push it back out.
Thank you.
Bounce it to the top of your email.
Be great. Any other questions? Concerns, comments? I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.